my sheets on is always like 100 times harder than washing them in the first place. I don't know if I'm the only one, but it drives me insane. Today I thought it would be fun to chat through my primary bathroom remodel. So for context, my husband and I bought a 1970s split level home a couple months ago. We knew right off the bat that we were going to remodel it. We really made the purchase for the property itself, not the house. Going into this, we knew we were going to do our best to make it what we wanted, but in general, we were never looking for a split level home. We wanted to get ahead on as much of the planning as we could, even though we didn't have the keys yet. We were trying to brainstorm how we could make the space work for us, and we had some lessons learned from our previous home purchase and remodel. That being said, this was going to be something completely different and on an entirely different scale than our previous home purchase. We did have equity from the sale of our previous home to put into this place, so we knew that we were going to have a little bit bigger budget than what we were working with at our first home purchase. So in a lot of ways, this would be like a dream scenario for a lot of people. Like, you have some funds to remodel the space. So when we purchased the home, there was no primary suite. We decided to combine two of the upstairs bedrooms to make a primary bedroom and then open up one of the walls in that space to create a master bathroom. The bathroom was already there, it just wasn't connected to any of the bedrooms. So the fact that the bathroom was already there made things a little bit easier, but where we started, it was incredibly difficult to even visualize what kind of a space I wanted to end up with. And I am coming into this with zero design experience. When we remodeled our first home, I really let Sam take the reins and make most of the design decisions. I was working incredibly long hours and honestly did not even have the time to think about a remodel. This situation is a lot different. Coming into this space, and I'll add some B-roll over the top here, there was a walk-in tub shower, there was purple like sponge painted walls, there was a very old vanity, little linen closet in there. Overall, the space was just awful. It needed a full top to bottom remodel. We started with just gutting it, and from there, the scope of the project definitely expanded. We found a lot of mold, and there was just layers of cleanup. On top of that, we redid all of the plumbing in the house. I mean, the home is over 50 years old, and it definitely showed its age, so we decided to redo all of the plumbing, switch to updated PEX plumbing. Plumbing is definitely above my pay grade, so I let Sam take care of that stuff. I really wanted this video to be more about the design element anyway, but I do think it is helpful and sometimes just interesting to see the whole process from start to finish of what's involved in an actual remodel. Going through it myself, even though I knew it was going to be more than I anticipated, it was even more than that. When it came to the actual design of the space, I knew that for the home overall, I wanted to really incorporate an elemental theme. Knowing that we wanted to pour in more of our own taste, it made me realize that I've seen style and design that I think is beautiful, but I've never created anything. I've never designed anything. And so going into this, I think I was really overwhelmed and intimidated by, how do I actually pick things? Like, how do I know that what I decide I'm going to buy is actually going to look good together without actually seeing it first? And yeah, you can make collages and inspo boards and things like that, but until you actually see it in the space, I think it's incredibly difficult to trust your beginner amateur eye, and that is definitely something that I ran into. Some of the things that I did to start is, number one, I looked on YouTube. I was like, show me what I need to know about the basics of design. And there's this one girl, I think her name is Caroline Winkler. I don't know, I will tag her channel somewhere. But one of the things that she said in one of her videos that was quintessential, life-changing, I will always remember this advice in the back of my mind when I'm thinking about any design. And I have plenty more of it to do, but she said, good design never goes out of style. And that changed something for me. When I heard her say that in that video, I realized it's entirely true. I've seen all different kinds of design. And even though something from the 70s might not be my taste, if it's good design, it's beautiful design. And so that really opened up my creative lens to see, okay, what do I actually like? What am I drawn to? For example, we decided to go with wood trim, and white is the safe choice. When I first came into the space, I assumed that we would just default to white, not really thinking about, okay, what is my taste? What am I going to look at and say, wow, this is beautiful every single day? What are some of the things that I learned from the first house that I didn't like, that I don't want to incorporate into this space? Another piece of advice that I think was also in that same video was to define your style with keywords. So for me, some of those things were, I know that I want my home to feel very nature inspired and earthy, but I also want an element of luxury. I almost want this juxtaposition of the rustic rawness of nature and this super luxurious spa-like escape. I asked Sam, hey, what are some of your keywords? Like, what are some of the things that we know that we like? We're here in the Pacific Northwest. I looked up Pacific Northwest contemporary design, and surprisingly, there are specific styles of design that are specific to your location. So if you're in Cincinnati, for example, there are styles of design that are true to that area. And so seeing some inspiration there, I took to Pinterest and I started making searches based on the keywords that we had kind of put together. Once I had a bunch of pins, I went through and I tried to find the similarities. Like, what are the things that I'm actually drawn to? And the very first thing that I pulled out for our primary bathroom was, I like a dark countertop, which is something that I haven't seen a lot in design. And that's not something I think I ever would have looked for. I think this process took me from what is available that I like to what do I like and can I find it? So I knew, okay, I can look for a dark top vanity and start there. Once I did that, I found a very reasonably priced vanity. It was just under $1,000 for a double sink, very nice vanity. And that is the same or less than what I would have spent at Home Depot or Lowe's for something that I didn't even like as much. Some things were definitely fly by the seat of your pants rush decisions. I think bathroom lighting has changed a lot over the years, but one of the things that I've never really enjoyed was just the lighting above the mirror. And obviously you're in a bathroom, you want to have the light coming onto your face so that you're well lit. You can do your makeup in the morning. So instead of doing a light above the vanity or sconce lights on either side or anything like that, we went with a backlit mirror. And I cannot say enough good things about getting a backlit mirror for a bathroom. It really feels elevated, it's super functional, and I love it. After I picked the vanity, I really used that as my anchor for designing the space. There were so many other decisions to make. I was still incredibly overwhelmed and really didn't know how I was going to make those next decisions. I ended up going to those stores that you drive by and never anticipate yourself going in. You don't even know what they sell. I went into tile specific stores and flooring stores and places that offer more of a selection than just your run-of-the-mill Home Depot, Lowe's, even online selection. I found it was really helpful for me to be able to see the product in person and take samples, compare them next to each other to see what looked good together and what didn't. And how I actually ended up with our shower tile combination was doing just that. I found a rock mosaic that I thought was really pretty. It incorporated the cool and warm tones that I really liked. And I brought it over to another piece of tile that I had found earlier. And when I put those two samples together, it was immediately, yeah, that looks great. That's the combination. Then there was a whole other element of how I was actually going to incorporate those two things. Going back to Pinterest and referencing some of the things that were consistent and what I liked were, when there was a tile shower, I really was drawn to designs that had a focal point around the faucet wall. I think it's called like a waterfall design, but I was really drawn to those sorts of images. Applying that to the materials that I chose, again, it made it very simple. I didn't have to overthink things too much. So at that point, I had enough pulled together where making the next design decisions were a lot easier. I knew what the vanity looked like. I had a general idea of what the shower was going to look like. And with that, I knew, okay, the flooring for the rest of the space needs to be pretty simple compared to what else is going on here. Knowing that I wanted something simple, then I did go back to Lowe's and I bought tile that was $2 a square foot, and it works great. It almost felt like a puzzle, and just putting together more pieces made the rest of the puzzle easier. That being said, it was impossible for me to visualize what the end result was going to look like, and I was so scared. Up until actually seeing it all come together, I was nervous that I had made a terrible mistake and I was not actually gonna like it, but I am very pleased to say that I love our bathroom. Obviously, it was a night and day transformation compared to what we started with, so I could not be happier with that alone. But the fact that it has come together so beautifully, and I'm just so grateful that somehow, with all of the research that I did, it does work together. I'd love some other people's opinions on what y'all think of this first bathroom I designed. I have another one to do downstairs, and I kind of have things picked out for the most part, so we can chat through that in another video if you'd love to see that before we do all of the work on that. As you probably saw in the B-roll, we did all of the tile and all of the work ourselves, so this has definitely been a labor of love, but it is so worth it. And I think going through this process just makes the end result that much sweeter, because it has been just so much effort. If you have any suggestions on what I could have done differently, or any input on what you think of the space, I'd love to hear it. Drop me a comment. And I think that's gonna do it for this video. So I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.